Okay, I'm going to get going here. How's everybody doing? If you can hear me, let me know in the chat. This is my attempt at a live stream. I've been trying to get live streams going for a little while now, and I didn't know how exactly I was going to do that. Michael, over at Late Night with Comicsgate, Michael Bancroft, he actually gave me a couple of ideas, and he said, "This is what you should do." So I'm going to test those out tonight, and I'm just going to. All right, great. You can hear me. That's great. Exactly what I need. So I may have some max headroom moments here. If my internet gets a little bit wonky, you might start to hear a little bit of reverb for me or a little bit of digitalization, something like that. So I'm going to hopefully do live streams every once in a while, maybe once a week. And so if this goes well, I'm only going to be on, I think, for the next 45 minutes. I don't want to step on Michael Bancroft's stream, which starts at let's see, I think 11 Eastern. So I'm going to be on for about 45 minutes just to test this out, see how it does. I'm going to answer any questions that anybody has. If they still have questions about Thomas Valiant, my graphic novel, I've had a couple of requests from people saying, you got to do another live stream about that because I have more questions. So if you have any questions about that, you go right ahead and ask them in the comment section. I just ask that you put a question mark at the end of your question so that I can go through the live, or I can go through the chat and find whether or not I have a question that I can answer them. But what I want to start these out, I want to do sort of like Zach used to do a long time ago on his channel when it was Diversity in Comics. I want to go over some comic, at the very least, a new comic or a comic that I think everybody should read. But this week, I'm going to go over a very short. This may turn out to be what the live streams are about more often than not. It is Superman. Let's see. I'll put it up on the screen here. Add to screen. Okay, give me 1 second. This is all new to me. Superman, red and blue. Now, I just want to go over this comic for a little bit before I get into anything else. I didn't read the entire book of this comic because I started to read this book for my 10-second comic reviews, which I do on the normal community section of my page. It's just a very short little blurb I do every once in a while, usually a couple of times a week on the community page. And I started to read this book, and it's fairly long, but I got about 3 stories in because it's a section by section comic book where you get about 10 pages of story, then it stops, then you get a new story. So it's a bit of an anthology. I got about 3 stories into this book, and I just could not finish it. I couldn't even bring myself to read the entire thing in order to roast it on my 10-second comic review. So there's that warning. I have not read this entire book because it's so awful. At the very least, the 3 first stories that I read were just awful. And I have this thing where if I am not engaged with something, I fall asleep. Quite honestly, I know that sounds like a normal thing where you fall asleep, but I'm talking mid-sentence fall asleep. And when I started to read this book, I just started to doze off. Literally, it is the most boring thing in the world. And especially the first story. And your first story is always key to grabbing your audience and making them read the rest of the book. The first story for this book, I'm going to play for you in the background what this first story looks like. It's only about 10 pages. Like I said, you get Superman. Okay, I want to go over this picture just for 1 second. Look at the face of Superman here. Somebody please tell me what kind of Superman looks like that? I mean, this is simp Superman. This is Superman who uh, has no heroic qualities to him whatsoever. I don't know. You want to argue with me in the comments? You go right ahead. This is not my Superman. All right. This is not any kind of manly Superman. That's not a picture of the original Superman, certainly. But this this little story, the first story, as I said, your first story needs to be your best foot forward. And this was not in any way something that would be engaging. So, first of all, it's set upon the premise that you remember or go back and read an old story of Superman from World's Finest. Now, I'm sorry, but World's Finest, although it was something that you'd get another Superman and Batman story in, it was never anything that did well. And I have a lot of World's Finest, but they never did well. So who is going to remember this old Superman story? I have no idea. And who's going to go and look it up? I have no idea either. But you're supposed to remember this old Superman story back in the time where you had the Soviet Union and the communist bloc. And Superman goes into a communist country to save a train, and he gets captured because they actually have some kind of kryptonite there. It's experimental kryptonite, which simply robs him of his powers. And so what they do is they put him in a concentration camp, more or less, and then they torture him. And so this is Superman now going back in this story, the present story that's in this new book. Superman going back to that country after it has now become a prosperous country. And he wants to see all the things that actually make this country better. But all he sees is his experience there being tortured in this concentration camp. And so he goes as a reporter, as Clark Kent, to go and interview the guy who was the head of the concentration camp and who was the director of the torture that he went through as Superman with no powers. And what does Superman think about this guy? Well, I'll give you the panel in just 1 second, the entire page. Here it is. Second panel on this. This is what Superman wishes to do. Okay? You're looking at this panel. Is this a Superman that you have any interest in reading? He wants the guy to be belligerent at him so he can then kill him. In the second panel, that's what he's doing. He's fantasizing that the guy would be belligerent and then he'd roast him to death with his heat vision. This is not Superman. All right? This is in no way heroic. This is Marvel and DC writers just wishing some revenge fantasy on I don't know who. It's ridiculous. This is not Superman. And this is the first story in the book. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to go over the rest of the stories, even the rest of the stories that I read from this book. Because if you read this first story and you're a true Superman hero, or if you believe Superman is a true hero, and you read this, are you saying to yourself, I want to read more? Because I didn't. I'm going, okay, I might keep on reading a little bit because I want to review this book, but I couldn't get more than halfway through it. And going back to this panel, second panel that I'm showing you right now, this was, I don't even know how to describe it. Someone taking your hero and just spitting on them. Because this is a self-insert for these writers. Again, the entire premise of this page is he wants the guy who originally tortured him to be belligerent so he can then kill him. But the guy isn't belligerent. The guy actually is just a normal capitalist, and he says, oh, well, look, the past is the past and everybody's forgotten about it, and I'm actually making the country better now. So he doesn't have an excuse to kill him. And so he lets him go. And he doesn't do anything about it. He just lets him go. And he doesn't even think that he's going to write a story to expose him as a bad capitalist. He's just going to go on and be Superman and do the things that Superman does to make the world better. And while that may be a good sentiment, it's actually Clark Kent, Superman. I don't know how to explain it beside wussing out. He is wussing out. That's all he's doing. He's saying he's not going to do anything. He's just going to run away and concentrate on his own life. I'm sorry. This is the worst version of Superman I have seen in a long time. Anyway, so that's my little 10-minute review of this book. tell me in the comments, what do you think about this book? I'm going to go through the comments now, just like Zach used to do. I'm going to go through the comments, see if you got any questions, any comments upon this book. Again, I'll talk about it a little bit later, a little bit more, if you guys want me to discuss it a little more, if you haven't read it. I'm going to go through the comments here and see what you guys think about this book. So just hold with me for just a minute as I take a look through the comments. Scrolling down. Let's see. Got a lot of friendly faces in here. Adonis. Classic Comics. Red, how's everybody doing? I know I this is the way I'm going to have to do these live streams, just because there's a little bit of a gap between what I'm actually saying and when it actually gets put up on YouTube. So I'm going to go through the older comments to see how everybody's doing. There's Oz, Great Sage. Who else we got? We got no one. We got Evil Roy. Ted. Daniel, you got to tell me how you do that with your name. I don't know. I'm useless when it comes to trying to be creative in that way. We have Joseph. Oh, there's Thunderbuns. Look, we got Thunderbuns in the house. Great. And, oh, amazing name. Robert Roberts. Okay, here's a question. Do you have any thoughts to offer about Xenu narrative and its establishment as a 20th century religious claim? I have no idea exactly what you're talking about. Honestly, I'm sorry. I don't. So I can't answer that question. Let's see. RJ, how do I feel about the Snyder Cut? It's an improvement. I don't know if anybody could say anything more than that. That's about all he can say. It's an improvement, but an improvement upon what? At the very least, it's more visually appealing, I would say. But again, whether or not this is a picture of heroes is another question entirely. I don't think everyone was thinking, hoping that this was going to save the DCEU, or at the very least to give it some kind of a boost, or give it some kind of a footing against Marvel, and that certainly hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. I think this is the last nail in the coffin for the DCEU. They might come out with some good one-shots like DC does in its comics, but its extended universe with this movie, I think, has been shown to simply give up the ghost. That's my take on the Snyder Cut, and that's about all I can say about it. Let's see. Have any questions? Red says a very feminine Superman. Yes, indeed. A very, very feminine looking Superman. I'll give you that picture. Let's see. We'll go back to the first here. Where is it? That picture of Superman from the second page. Yeah, very feminine Superman. You got it. All right. Fizchozo. Very good. We got a lot of people here. Let's see. Having everything be blue and red doesn't look good. Honestly, I think it's the art style of today of trying to sell everything. You have Batman black and white. You have Harley Quinn, which I think is black and white and red. And then you have Wolverine black, white, and blood, which is black, white, and red. So this is the Superman attempt to cash into all of this. I agree. It has, I don't know, no appeal to me either. There is, I don't have any pictures here for you, but in the second story, there's a fella in the second story, and he's talking to Superman about his mother dying. He was wondering why Superman didn't come. He wrote a letter to Superman and saying, please come and help my mother because she's a drug addict. Anyways, so the guy is at his mother's funeral and he's a fully grown man. And then it flashes back to when the guy was a boy and he originally found out that his mother was doing drugs. And you can tell in the flashback that the kid is African American. But in the original part of the story, the first part of the story, where he's at his mother's funeral. I couldn't tell that at all. Why? Because he's blue. Because the coloring around him is white and blue, and he's blue. And yeah, it just messes up any kind of narrative storytelling with that. I had to go back and look at it, go, is this the same guy? I don't, I don't understand. And again, the coloring threw me, and I agree. Oh, look, Nerdette's here. Oh, if you want anything DC related, if you're a DC fan, go over to Nerdette's channel and subscribe there, because she is the one I go to listen to if I don't understand something that's going on in DC, because DC is not my wheelhouse. Marvel is my wheelhouse. So I go listen to Nerdette. All right. That was, let's see, scrolling down. Daniel says, oh, wait, I think I've seen something on this and Thinking Critical. I didn't see that. All right, scrolling down to see if we have any questions here. Good grief, this is ridiculous, says the Dark Admiral. I agree. If you're talking about this Superman story, I'll play this in the background. I'll let it play so that you can see the ridiculousness of this. But yes, this is a ridiculous Superman. This is the modern Superman. And I'm sure that in the near future, it's going to happen to him as it has happened to most of the Marvel characters. I mean, it's already in place there for Superman, because all the Marvel characters are no longer characters in themselves. They're just one of something else. It's something I want to talk about in my video this week. You have Spider-Man. He's not really Spider-Man. He's one of the Spider-Men. You have Captain America, and with this new, we'll say, alphabet Captain America, all of these stories around this, I think everybody's missing the point with that Captain America story, talking about this new Captain America, flamboyant Captain America. I think the real story behind what is going on there is that they're going to introduce all of these other characters that are Captain America like and have the Captain America symbol. And so this is to downplay Captain America, to make him just one of many Captain Americas. And then they're going to bring it into something, as you see within Spider-Man, or the ridiculousness of Thor, where Thor is no longer Thor. He's just one of many Thors. And I say, this is probably what's going to happen to Superman as well, because you already have so many Supermen out there, or Superman imitators out there. DC has sort of strayed away from this with Superman, but I think that's where they're going with a lot of their stories. So Johnny says, this is not Superman. I completely agree. No, they can't write heroes. Oz, the great sage, says, no, they cannot write heroes. That is the entire point of most, well, a lot of my videos, if not all of them. They can't write heroes. They don't have any clue about how to write a hero because they're not heroic. And that's just the truth. They're not heroic in their own life. So how can they figure out what an actual hero is? Fischozo says, Superman should not want to kill anyone. Thank you. Exactly. That is exactly what ran through my head. I mean, I know Superman is a man, and I know that they're trying to make him human in this story, but not that kind of human. He's not the guy who wishes death on people. I'm sorry. In no version of a Superman that I can think of as a hero can I see him wishing death on anyone, especially someone who has wronged him, because that would be the biggest step for Superman, you know, forgiving the person that has wronged you. You see that in his older stories. All right. Nerdette says, all right, she says, in this panel, I'll give you the panel she's talking about here. That's right. Let's see. Next one. Just give me, oh, there we go. I skipped it. Nerdette says, they say that he was raped. Superman was raped in the concentration camp. I didn't get that at all. I had people arguing in the comments of another video, or I saw them arguing in the comments of another video that was the case. I didn't get that whatsoever. I got the two guys here, the two concentration camp guards. One's got a cattle prod, the other's got a piece of rebar. Yeah, they're just beating him. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But even if that's the case, I still don't see Superman wanting to kill, again, wanting to kill anybody. It's just not part of who Superman is. Johnny says, this is something Dr. Doom would do, not Superman. Yes, indeed. Agreed. Petty men would do that. Petty men would wish death upon others, not only wish death upon others, but again, first of all, wishing them to provoke him so he can justify the death, and then wimping out so that he doesn't actually do anything about it. Yeah. So, Adonis says, Kal-El would never have such sociopathic, well, I say he would not be such a sociopath. No, agreed. That is something that is bubbling out of your writers for DC. All right, scrolling down. I got to get down the comments here. Scrolling down, scrolling down. Here's a comment from Red. He says, not Superman, but definitely a modern journalist reaction, I think is what he's trying to say. Well, I would agree to a little extent here. I honestly think that Superman, Clark Kent is still something of a journalist in his stories, or at the very least, they try to portray that more than what you would get in normal journalism today. Let's see. Scrolling down here just a little bit. What does Nerdette say? Again, Nerdette is the one to listen to when it comes to DC. I messaged Jimmy Rich on IG, asked why he allowed this. Imagine my shock when he ignored me. Yeah. Well, I did a video, Nerdette, I think it was last week, talking about how Marvel is ignoring its fan base in an attempt, they think, an attempt to listen to their fan base. It is by listening to the people on Twitter and other social platforms which agree with them. So, they're not listening to any of us peasants who actually read these books. Let's see. Scrolling down. Let's see. Fizchozo again says this is not Superman. Agreed. Okay, here's a comment from Robert. Do you see similarities and differences between Western religious narratives like the narrative story, Night Ride to Jerusalem, say, and non-religious Western storytelling? Honestly, that's something I've been struggling with myself. I really want to do a video on it about the difference between Eastern and Western storytelling, but I don't feel I'm qualified enough to do so. My area of expertise is European based stories, and that's where I'm comfortable. I do have some ideas about Eastern religions, and especially their ideas about what you would determine to be superpowers, mythology, but I can't say for sure that they have any validity besides me misunderstanding what these myths and stories actually mean. I think it has a lot more to do with where they think power comes from and how they think it, again, in my very limited knowledge of the subject, would say that the idea is that power comes from the universe and you can tap into the universe, become one with the universe, and you would have unlimited power through this. Again, this would be expressed in so many anime, from Dragon Ball Z to Claymore, where you actually find these people and they keep leveling up and they keep leveling up all the time. I think, again, in my layman's explanation of it to myself, it's their connection with the universe and how they can tap into almost unlimited energy. And it has to do, I think that has a lot to do with their basis of understanding what superpowers are and how they fit in, especially to a story. So that's just my little take on that. Let's see. Question here. Fourth Age. Brian from Honey Badger. Great. What in the world did you do with your name, Brian? I can't even pronounce that. Zanamaru. Zanamaru? Okay. I'm not familiar with that character, if it is a character. But let's scroll down a little more here. Adonis says exactly what I was saying. The colors are jarring. Stabbing my eyes. Yeah. Okay. Bad story and bad art, says David. So scrolling down. No one asks, what was the point of them introducing the antagonist? The point of it was that Superman ignores him and goes about his business because he's not worth the effort of Superman to do anything about. Again, this is self insert from the writers themselves. These are people who say, oh, yeah, I would have done something. I definitely would have done something to that horrible person. But, I'm a better person. So I just left. And I made sure that I didn't give him the time of day. And I'm going to have my revenge on him by simply walking away and not paying any attention to him. This is the way these people think. You're quote unquote progressives. And this is how they're having Superman act in this situation. So their whole reason for putting this guy in, who is the leader of the concentration camp where he was, and then have Superman not do anything, is because this is what your SJWs would do. To make themselves feel good, they would say, I would have done something, but I just walked away. And again, that's the excuse of a coward. Sorry, but it is. Let's see. Alfonso has a comment. I think the author used this story to vent about past abuse, which would be great if it was with his therapist not selling a comic. Again, totally agree. Let's see. Nerdad has a question. Have you been reading John Ridley's The Next Batman? In an interview today from Newsarama, they talked about Newsarama. Talked about Jace talking over for bats. Oh, right. I have read the first issue and I think the third issue, but no, I'm not following the story. It really doesn't appeal to me that much. Again, the only reason I would actually read that story is to do a 10-second comic review on it and probably roast it. I don't know. It may be good. It may be bad. It didn't appeal to me. I read 2 issues and it's not something that I wanted to pick up anymore. So I'm actually a little bit impressed with the Nightwing that came out. It was something I gave a soft recommend for, just because it looks like it might go in a good direction. I think that's the only part of the Batman family right now that has any appeal to me, which would be Nightwing. I'm sure you'd love to hear that, Nerdette, because I think you love Nightwing. Let's see. Oh, can you help me get Nerdette Newsstand to email us? Well, she's on the live stream. She's listening to me ask you. You ask me to ask her to ask for that. So if she wants to contact you, I'm sure she can over at Honey Badger Radio. That's where they're talking about, if Nerdette, if you want to, they're looking to probably interview you at Honey Badger Radio. Let's see. Jasper says, hey, RJ, how you doing, Jasper? Scrolling down. Let's see. Scrolling down. The only movie, okay, Fitzjozo says the only movie in the DCEU I liked was Shazam. Okay, that's a fair comment. I'll give you that. Scrolling down. Quertery says, good riddance. Snyder is toxic for the superhero archetype. Yes. I think, again, he's too much into deconstruction. So although he may have more of a, we'll say, level idea of what a superhero is than a lot of others that have tried to put together a superhero comic movie. No, he's certainly not the one to save the idea of superhero. Let's see. Scrolling down. I apologize if I miss any of your questions. Like I said, if you have questions, please put a question mark at the end so that I don't miss it. JK says, what do you think about Jordan Peterson and PragerU talking about how narrative can take over a person's life and drive them towards heroism. How does this drive your heroic characters? I don't actually know what you're talking about. I do know PragerU, and I certainly do know Jordan Peterson. I haven't seen any videos where they're talking about that, probably because YouTube is not allowing me to see them. But I certainly think that would be a good conversation to have, and is something that I believe that a a heroic story, does drive people towards heroism. That is bang on. Um, it is exactly why the SJWs have taken over not just comic book, but the book industry in itself. It's because they believe they can present a new type of hero in order to push people towards their type of quote unquote heroism. Unfortunately, that's not the way things work. The whole point, I would say, of a story, as I've said on in my channel many times, is that a story is supposed to be a reflection of reality. And the heroism, if it is true heroism that you see within a character, within a page, it speaks to the true heroism within your own human nature. And that is a connection right there that will help you understand your own self, your own nature, your own heroism, and bring it out in you. So yes, there's definitely a connection there. And there is definitely a way to connect characters with real life and bring real life heroism out of reading about heroes, true heroes, I would have to add. Let's see, scrolling down. Now here's a name I cannot even attempt to read. How you doing, RJ? I'm doing good. Let's see. Scrolling down. Another bang on comment saying, I'm sick of self-loathing heroes. This is something I want to cover partly in my upcoming video I'm doing for Saturday. Just by the way, just so that everybody know, first of all, I'm probably going to cut this off at the top of the hour, just because I don't want to step on Michael Bancroft's toes with his live stream. And this is an experimental live stream on my part. I just started to talk, and I threw this together tonight to see if it would work with my system. Anyways, everybody should know that if you're not getting notifications for my videos, I put out a new video every week. It's either a Saturday or a Sunday that I publish the video, depending on where you are in the world. For me, it's on a Saturday. I don't think I've missed a Saturday for at least a year and a half now. So I put out one every week. So the video that I want to do this week is partly about this idea of self-loathing heroes. And it's all about confrontation, about the fact that you get these sullen looking heroes, these people who have no respect for themselves, because they don't, well, honestly, that's really the point. They don't have any self-respect. And it's within the ways that they've been taught to think, which is exactly, again, what the point of my channel is, to understand how these people think and why they're using it to destroy our hobby, or maybe even our passion, which is comics. So scrolling down, Dark Admiral says, I don't know of any of the old guard characters that are untouched by this garbage. Only characters that are not in use right now are the ones that are untouched. And if you see a character that you love and they're starting to revamp him, you know it's going to die. I just saw for Marvel, they're redoing Darkhawk. Now, Darkhawk was never a character that I liked. He was a 90s character, I think. And it was just a bad attempt to put together a hero that looked like three different other Marvel heroes. But again, I know they're going to destroy that character. I don't really care about that character, but I know they're going to destroy it. Let's see, scrolling down. Here is a question. This book couldn't have been a deep dive into the difference between the purposes of Superman as a superhero and Clark Kent as a super journalist, a telling of how these two personas handle world issues. That would have been a great comic. You should, Hamilton, you should write that comment. That would be a great comic. If someone, I mean, Superman's about to go into public domain, what, in a couple of years? Go ahead, write that comic. You would probably sell better than these comics that are coming out of DC right now. That is exactly what we need to see within our comic books, a real thinking comic book like that. So, scrolling down. Let's see. Just going through. All Might is better than Superman. All Might is pretty much Superman, wouldn't you say? In a certain way. I don't know. He has many more, we'll say, not faults, but weaknesses to some extent. Drew says he reviewed this comic on his YouTube channel. It was an embarrassment. Agreed. Agreed, Drew. Embarrassment for not just DC, but for Superman fans. Okay, scrolling down. Mando, how you doing? Long-time listener, first-time commenter. Great to see new people. Sometimes I don't get to read all of the comments. I try to read everybody's comments on my videos, but if you're a regular commenter, I know who you are, and I typically remember your gist from what you have said in past videos. So if you want to become a regular commenter, I will certainly strive to answer you at the very least once or twice whenever I get the chance. So here is a question. That's a good observation. Superheroes have lost much of their uniqueness, but how would you contrast this with hero teams like the Green Lantern Corps? Well, honestly, I think the Green Lantern Corps in its origin had more to do with something that was a military wing of a planet. So to me, anyways, it certainly looked like a military, even though, you know, I'm sure most people would not want to look at it that way. And I honestly think that the Green Lantern Corps did take away from Green Lantern. I would rather they had kept the character as a solo character, not having any great cosmic significance. Again, that's just me, possibly. I think that real heroes are more connected, are more down to earth. So it's not exactly where I would have gone with the character, but at the very least, if you look at the early issues of when they turned him into part of something else, it was more of a commentary, I think, on heroes working together. And again, it's a military sense of camaraderie because everybody had a unique personality. Everybody that they concentrated on, at the very least, had a unique personality. And that's a problem, I think, right now with Legion of Superheroes. Legion of Superheroes is one of the DC books historically that I have loved, but this new run is so bad. And part of that reason is because nobody has any unique personality, not one of them. So I'll have to see if I can get through a few more of these comments. I'm sure I'm probably nowhere near the bottom, but I'll try. Albino Thunderbun says, RJ is on point. Nerdette is a walking DC comic encyclopedia. Hear that, Nerdette? I agree completely. I rely on her channel to keep me up to date on DC stuff. So do I. Let's see, scrolling down. Oops. Sorry. This scrolling down thing just jumps like crazy at some points. So if I missed your comments, I do apologize. I'm going to try to go back up and see what I got. Buck says, hello, RJ. Good to see you live stream again. Like I said, if you weren't here at the first, Buck, I'm going to try to do this more often. Again, this is my attempt to make sure this works with my system. Scrolling down. Bless you guys for buying modern comics. They sound awful. Yeah, they are mostly awful. That's why I think the YouTube channels that we have are something of a resource for people who read comics. Why? Because we can tell you what's garbage. And if you listen to us, not just me, but Nerdette or Zach or anybody else, and you trust our taste, then you know what to buy for yourself and what not to buy, and you save yourself some money. So that's partly why I do my comic book reviews, and most people say, "Thank you very much. You just saved me $5 or $10." Let's see. Sergio says, "I'm ignoring the big two. For me, only exist indie comics. They are the future and manga." Well, I can certainly see where you're coming from with that. I support indie comics. I would say more than Marvel or DC, and manga. I'm not exactly the biggest manga fan in the world. Um, Not that there's anything wrong with those stories. I would wish I had the time to read those stories. I just don't. But yeah, let's see. Scrolling down, Jasper says, thoughts on Tom Seeley or Tim Seeley? Nope, I really don't have any thoughts there. It's not something I would even give much thought to right at the moment. Sorry. Let's see. Scrolling down. Nerdette, if you're looking for the email address for Honey Badger Radio, um, you can, and if you can't find it, you can just contact me. My email address is all over the place. It's RJ's fourth age at gmail.com. That's for everybody. If you want to send me an email, you go right ahead, and I'll hook you up with Honey Badger Radio if you can't get through to them at any other point. Let's see. Scrolling down. Good comment. Let's see. Scrolling down. Why is this not showing up for me? Deconstruction is all that is left. Evangelion shaped so much of culture all around the world, and its last four movies just released to critical acclaim. I never actually got to see the last of the four movies. Um, Although, again, the other movies didn't stray too far away from the original material. So I agree. It is a great series. Although I think a lot of people put way too much emphasis on the symbology within it because themselves said that it was simply a cool visual that they were going for. They didn't mean anything by it, but great storytelling visually nonetheless. Let's see. Scrolling down. Scrolling down. Zack Snyder, right? He's an SJW. Can you talk about superhero films? Well, I would like to, but I don't think I have the time to do it on this live stream. So, but it is a good point, and I may do so in the near future. Let's see, scrolling down to try to get some more of your comments in here before I'm done. Is there a deconstruction of deconstructionists? Wonder what a story like that would look like. Well, it's a double negative, so it would be a reconstruction of a hero. So yeah, in my mind, anyways, it would be a dark hero, something like, I don't know, the comedian, realizing the importance of virtue in heroism. That would be my take on that question. Let's see. Scrolling down just a little more. Fourth Age, good to see you live. You have been an inspiration to me when it comes to heroism and writing heroic characters. Coming to you from the Professor Geek community. Well, thank you very much. Professor Geek and I are supposed to get together to do a video at some point. We had talked about it before my campaign started, but after my campaign started, that was my life for a little while. So I haven't gotten back to him on that. Let's see. Scrolling down, see if I can get some more of your comments in here. Again, I'll look for questions. Scrolling down. Let's see. Oh, there's Brian from Honey Badger. So scrolling down, like I said, I'm just looking for question marks if you have a question. Scrolling down. I think everybody's taken off because it's 12 o'clock. Well, 11 o'clock, depending on where you are. And they might be jumping over to Michael Bancroft's live stream right now. I'll try to squeeze in here. Oops. Again, I'm still trying to get the hang of this. I apologize for my, we'll say, random behavior and ability to use technology. So the question is, hello, man. No, I haven't. Um, Honestly, a lot of people talk about the Watchmen being the real deconstruction of superheroes and that being the point of no return. But Miracle Man, I think, is right up there. And it would be an interesting video for me to do so, although most people don't actually watch those videos, unfortunately. I used to try to do those, and not many people actually cared about when I talked about older comics. But yes, his deconstruction of Miracle Man was, I think, one of those point of no returns. But that's about all I can say about it right now. Scrolling down, let's see. Scrolling down, someone's commenting. Justice League cartoon is the best version of the DC characters outside of the comics. Well, honestly, I have not watched that many of the DC comic movies because they're just a bit, I don't know what, Western cartoons don't seem to appeal to me anymore. After watching so much anime, it seems to be stale in some way. Not the storytelling for the DC characters and their movies, but for the visuals, because anime has so many different kinds of visuals. With every different anime, you get a different visual, and you get pretty much, I would say, to my eyes, anyways, the same visual with every DC movie that comes out. So I'm looking for something a little bit more original. Let's see, scrolling down. Let's see. Philip says, "Good evening, RJ. I got a notification for this, but assumed it was a video. Oh man, hope you post the stream." I think the stream automatically goes to my channel. The last couple have, so it should be over there when I'm done. Again, this is just my attempt to get my streaming chops ready and able so that I can do this on possibly a weekly basis, hopefully a weekly basis. Let's see. Scrolling down. Here we have a question from Mike. Can we get you and Nerdette on the same stream? Well, well, that's up to Nerdette, honestly. I wouldn't mind doing that at all. Nerdette has interesting takes on a lot of things, and that's what I'm looking for when I'm actually going to videos. When people say the same thing over and over again, I usually just turn them off. But Nerdette, I get to the end because she does have an interesting take and an interesting thing to say. Let's see. Adonis says, RJ, I want to write epic fantasy, but I'm worried that races who aren't human cannot be heroic. Is there a way around this? Hmm. I don't know. I really don't. Um, it would have to be something that's part of your world building, but I can't say anything beyond that. Um, there's an interesting, oh, one of the editors for the novel that I have written, he wrote a series of fantasy novels, science fiction fantasy novels, but it's extremely difficult to read, not to read, but to write those kind of novels because the world building, they allow you some leeway and they're usually a lot bigger than normal novels because they allow you that time for world building. And you would have to world build your types of aliens either through multiple books or through a giant book at the same time. And it's not exactly the best thing to do to jump right into writing. I'll just say that. But I'm certainly not averse to any idea that something other than human species can be heroic, because I think they would be, well, human in some capacity. Anyways, I'll see if I can get through a couple more comments. Scrolling down, I want to see if I can get to the bottom. Scrolling down. Scrolling down. This Chozo says, wishing for someone to provoke him, that is Superman, so as to justify murder. Isn't that monstrous Lucy, the protagonist from, oh yeah, from Elfen Lied? Yeah. Uh, that's another show that I actually fell asleep. I could not watch that entire show. I couldn't tell you. I started watching it, and every time I tried to get through it, I just fell asleep. I couldn't get to the end. So perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't. All right, scrolling down. I'm going to try to get to the bottom. Holy Moses. There's a whole lot of comments that I haven't gotten to yet, and I'm cutting into Michael's live stream. So I'm going to skip down, scrolling down, see if we can just get to the last couple of comments. Bert says, I just read Superman Red and Blue today. It was not great. No, it is not great. I completely agreed. That was what my entire first part of the stream was about. It is great is not the word you would use for it in any way, shape, or form. Let's see, scrolling down. What does Tom here say at the bottom? Recommended Thomas Valiant on Professor Geek's Facebook group. I was surprised Professor Geek himself hadn't already heard of it. Well, like I said, Professor Geek and I have contacted with each other, but he's not someone that I typically interact with right now. I am interacting mostly with artists, again, with my multiple artists for my book, Thomas Valiant, and also my colorist. And Zach has generously suggested that I do not letter the book myself for my first book, that I should do it, farm it out to someone else so that I can certainly get their more professional take on getting my story into the book. So I'm also dealing with letterers as well. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to stop at the top of the hour. I'm going to leave it there. For everyone who's still here, thank you very much for showing up and listening to me ramble, because that's pretty much what this live stream was. I am going to try to get a little more professional at this. This was my attempt to make sure that my system is up and running so that my live streaming will work. Hopefully, I'm going to do this at least once a week. I think that it will probably be best to do so in the middle of the week at the very least for now. That way I won't be stepping on a whole lot of toes with other people in their live streams. So if anybody wants to leave a comment, then you can let me know what you think the best time would be to have these live streams and what you think I should concentrate on. Again, I will probably do like Zach used to do with those older live streams that he used to have on, where I will take a comic, a modern comic, usually one that came out that week, and rip it to shreds or praise it if it actually is good, and then get your comments on it, and we'll just go from there and see if we can have a good time. And that's all I want to do with my live streams. I'll answer any questions that you have, and we can all get together and we can enjoy good comics or tearing down bad comics. All right. So as I said during the stream, just to let everybody know, I do have a video coming out every week, usually on the Saturday or the Sunday, again, depending on what part of the world you're in. So if you're not getting notifications about my videos, please come on over to my channel on the weekend, and you'll probably see a new video every week, again, depending on what day you show up. And besides that, my graphic novel, Thomas Valiant, is still in demand on Indiegogo, and you can order it. You will be able to order it right up until the point where we are going to, at the very least, either start the second book or slightly thereafter, because we are doing a second book. Renzo and I have already agreed that we have had success with this Thomas Valiant book, and we're going to plan to do a second one as soon as we finish the first one. So just to let everybody know, give you a little bit of heads up on that. All right. Going to have to leave the live stream there. Thank you very much, everybody, for showing up. And I will see you hopefully all next week. I will try to make it the same time next week. If we can get this regular, maybe on a Thursday night, or sorry, I don't even know what day it is. Maybe on a, yeah, it is Thursday. I don't know what day it is. If I can get this on a Thursday night, I think that's what I'll try to do from now on. So I'll see you all later. All right. Bye.